You've probably seen a lot of advertisements for VPNs recently. In fact, based on the title of this video and the nature of the YouTube algorithm, you may have gotten one before this video even started. But what exactly is a VPN? Well, VPN stands for a virtual private network, and really the explanation is within the name. Virtual would lead you to believe that this is something which is, well, virtual, meaning not real or physical, and in a way, it is, just like how a virtual machine is a fully functioning OS, but instead of that OS running on bare metal, the RAM, hard disk, and CPU are emulated within real hardware on the system. A VPN is a virtual network connecting two or more nodes within a virtual network that is spanning across a real network, which is the internet. Private comes from the encryption aspect of VPNs, since this network isn't contained within our own routers, switches, and network cables that we physically control. It's important that the communications that are going through a VPN use strong encryption to prevent any random person on the internet from intercepting them and modifying them. And this can be accomplished with a few different secure VPN protocols such as IPsec, TLS, or even SSH. And there's a few things that a VPN is ultimately useful for when we think about it at the higher level. So if you don't want a random website that you've never been to before to know your real IP address, then a VPN can usually handle this, provided that you don't have any WebRTC leaks in your browser or any other type of JavaScript that is running on the site you're connecting to that can go through a VPN and grab your IP information anyway. If you want to watch media that is blocked in your country, like on a particular website or a YouTube channel, then you can typically get to it with a VPN, because what these websites do is they filter IP addresses. They can tell based off of your IP address what country you are in. So if they don't, for example, want somebody from Germany to be able to watch a particular video, then they can just filter all German IPs. But if you connect using a VPN, the website is going to see the IP address of the VPN and not yours. So you can connect with a server that is in that website's country or a country that the website is going to allow to view its content. And if you're on a high-risk Wi-Fi network like an airport, then VPNs can also be useful to prevent you from getting compromised by a man-in-the-middle attack, since VPNs can provide some much-needed encryption where typically these open networks, like at an airport, don't really provide much encryption. Now, there's a few things that a VPN does not accomplish, and it's very important for you to know these so that you don't go and buy a VPN thinking that it'll do something that it's simply not capable of. So for one, a VPN does not make you anonymous. And this is pretty obvious if you just stop for a moment and think about it. Most people are paying for a VPN via a credit card or PayPal or some other payment method which is going to require a lot of identifying information for you to sign up for. So when you use a VPN, all of this information is essentially tied to you: your credit card number, social security number, first and last name, address, all of this stuff, which is typically even more identifying information than if you were to, say, use a coffee shop's internet or even just connect to the internet through your ISP with the service that you pay for every month. And also, most VPN providers say that they don't keep logs, but there's no way for us to actually verify this. I mean, sure, it would be bad for business in theory if a VPN provider claimed to not keep logs, but actually was sending logs to the feds in secret. But Hide My Ass VPN has already been caught doing this, and they are still going strong as a company. Many people are still using them as a VPN provider, even though they have done this on more than one occasion and it was highly publicized. You know, most people, they just don't care, right? They focus on something for a week and then move on to something else. And also VPNs, they don't necessarily stop tracking. Now, being tracked on the internet, it actually has more to do with your browsing habits than it does the connection that you're actually browsing from. If you're going on to Facebook or Amazon and you have an account with them, then your activity is being tracked. It even tells you this when you sign up for the account. And simply using a VPN is not enough to fool these companies. I mean, you got to think these are multi-billion-dollar companies. In the case of Amazon, one of the biggest companies in the world. So they have a lot of money. They have a lot of resources. They're still going to know who you are. I mean, hell, you gave them all of your information when you signed up. And the ad algorithms that they use or that they allow other people to use, they don't all of a sudden get confused because your IP is hidden. They have thousands of hours of time logged from your real IP address. They already know what you're doing. They know that this device is just connected over a VPN. And not to mention that if you use these services like Facebook and Amazon on multiple devices, then a VPN is going to be completely useless unless you pass all of your traffic from all your devices through the VPN. And even then, you still have the same problems I've mentioned earlier because you've been using it over a clear net connection for all this time already. And VPNs, they don't encrypt all your traffic with end-to-end encryption. Now, they don't do this because something like this is actually impossible. If an endpoint, meaning the final destination of your connection, the website or whatever that you're connecting to, if that endpoint is expecting a plain text connection like HTTP websites that don't have any SSL support set up, a VPN cannot magically make it connect over SSL. It can't magically create encryption when the endpoint is not designed to handle an encrypted connection. Sure, it might encrypt the connection from you to the VPN, but the VPN must send plain text to the endpoint if that's all that it can deal with, and that part of the connection will not be encrypted. And the most important thing to consider when picking out a VPN, especially for a lot of people that might be thinking about using it to do some things that aren't necessarily legal, is the fact that some VPNs are definitely honeypots. There's so much hype around VPNs right now and so many different companies and uninformed users that are purchasing this service, which makes this a perfect storm for bad actors. Some of these companies who say that they don't keep logs and that they can anonymize you and they're trying to hide your identity, some of these guys are definitely keeping logs, and they're probably storing more information than the ISPs would even collect if you were trying to just connect over a clear net connection. Hide My Ass is just one of the companies that was caught doing this, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were many more. And in certain countries like the United States, the government is also able to put out what's called a gag order on companies for this type of information. And as part of that gag order, the company is not even allowed to tell its customers that it has happened and what is going on with the logging. So at the very least, any VPN provider with a no-log policy is going to be susceptible to this if their government decides to crack down on them. So all in all, a VPN is a good thing to have if you want to use it for any of the things that it's actually good for, like watching content that is blocked in your country, or if you get banned on some type of game server and you want to connect back, assuming that the game server doesn't just block VPN connections, which is another thing that I guess I should mention. All of the IP addresses that VPN providers own, like all those different servers that you can connect through, those are public information. Like any website, if I wanted to build a website of my own, it would be very easy for me to simply block every single connection from every VPN that exists out there. So at that point, you have to basically create your own VPN, which obviously most people are not going to really have the technical knowledge to actually do it. So yeah, it is good for any of the things that it's actually good for. Just don't think that you can hide from the alphabet boys and plan their downfall through a VPN connection. So I hope you guys found this video useful. Be sure to like it, share it, and subscribe for more.